Welcome into a live edition of Iowa Postgame here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. I am your host, as always, Cory Brada. During a busy month of November, we were with you last night talking about the Iowa women and their defeat at the hands of Kansas State at home. The Iowa men defeat Arkansas State at home. I'm kidding. That's Arkansas State. 88-74, the final. Kind of an uninspiring performance, if you ask me. But did what they needed to do on the heels of a very impressive, I thought, showing against Creighton on the road in Omaha a couple of nights ago. So I don't know how much you expect from them 3 days later against an overmatched Arkansas State team, but an Arkansas State team that did battle. I think it's worth noting a couple things. I looked this up late in the game, went over to Ken Palm and thought, where are they ranked? I know it's early, but Ken Pomeroy does a pretty good job of estimating where these teams are nationally, and he's got them, I think, 186 in the country in Ken Palm, talking about the Red Hawks. And, you compare that with, like Eastern Illinois a year ago. Of course, that was a game Iowa lost at home, and Eastern Illinois was like 340, 350, something absurd like that. So Arkansas State was not that low, but I will say, if you look at results from Arkansas State, they were 1-2 heading into this game. They had a 6-point loss to Bowling Green. They beat Alcorn State, and Wisconsin put up 105 and a 29-point win on Arkansas State. So, not apples to apples. 4 games in, Iowa wins, and it's a double-digit win at home. This game will not mean anything down the road, except it will mean a game in which Iowa avoided another Eastern Illinois type of game or even a late game scare. This game really wasn't close. I mean, Iowa never really pulled away, but I never felt like, to me, that Arkansas State had any chance of winning this game. And, credit to Iowa for making that happen. And we'll go through kind of the leading stat stuffers, if you will, today. Desante Bowen being one, Ben Krikke being another. The freshmen were a little bit quieter this evening, but hopefully each game now, these young guys like Brock Harding and Owen Freeman, Laji Dembele, and, certainly Price Sanford. Hopefully each game, these guys are learning something more. I'm sure Fran would say, yes, they are doing just that. They're learning on the fly here. My only concern going away from this game based on what we saw tonight is I'm still waiting for Peyton Sandfort to kind of break through. And I was skeptical preseason about him being the guy. Everybody expects him to be the guy. And he's been on these, I think he's on the Julius Erving preseason watch list, very prestigious award nationally in college basketball. And I think a lot of people expected him, without the likes of Chris Murray and Philip Bracha, to be the guy offensively. And so far, that guy is Ben Krikke. Now, how much is this going to translate to the Big Ten level? Well, Krikke did put up 24 against number 8 in the country the other night on the road. So that's a good sign. But that mid-range game that he has been thriving on is going to get scouted. And how will Ben adjust? I do like his offensive game. I think he's maybe even a little bit more skilled than Philip Bracha was. Philip, of course, was more of a physical big who I thought attacked the glass really effectively for his size. And I give Ben credit tonight. Ben was good on the glass. They need him to take the lead and rebound. He had 9 boards on the night. he was just okay at Valpo in that category, but he was 10 of 14 from the field with 9 boards tonight, and pretty hard not to give him player of the game. I'm not sure I will. We'll talk about that here in a second. I think Jess Settles may have kind of spoiled my player of the game in his commentary this evening, but it was a night in which the young guys didn't see a ton of time. I don't have final minutes counts from the freshmen, but Alaji did not score. Owen Freeman did have 7 points on 2 of 4 shooting. Brock Harding had just 1 point. Price Sanford, no points on just 1 shot attempt. They will have a couple other tune-ups, if you will. Keep in mind they play North Florida coming up on the 29th, following that invitational, that San Diego Invitational, which is the next thing on the docket for the Hawks. They'll get North Florida, and they'll also get Florida A&M, Maryland, Baltimore County, and Northern Illinois in the month of December. Those games coming after a couple of tough games, one against Iowa State, one against Michigan, and one against Purdue. So December's obviously going to get tough, but they're 3-1 now, and the 3 wins have basically been comfortable wins, although they have not been perfect. They've been comfortable wins, and that's what you'd want from a young Iowa team that's needing each of these games to get ready. And hopefully, once we hit Big Ten play, somebody else has emerged scoring besides Ben Krikke, consistent scoring, and hopefully that's Peyton Sandfort. But if it's not Sandfort, you hope it's Tony Perkins, maybe DeSante Bowen, even though he's running the point. He looks like a starting point guard. I think that's the good news right now for Iowa is he didn't look like that necessarily last year, but I do think DeSante Bowen looks like a starting point guard this year. Iowa Smokehouse is sponsoring our call-in line this evening. So if you want to call in, the number is 515-635-1601 to make your voice be heard on the Iowa Hawkeyes and their 88-74 defeat over the Arkansas State. Did I call them the Red Hawks? Aren't they like the Red Wolves? Why did I say Red Hawks? They're not the Red Hawks, right? Let's get James in here. James can help us. James, appreciate you calling into the Iowa Smokehouse call-in line.
They're the Red Wolves, but
Red Wolves. When have you ever heard of what's a red wolf?
Oh, probably just a wolf that's red. I don't know.
Are there wolves that are red?
I don't know. I'm not that smart.
Okay.
I mean, maybe I am, but I don't know. But anyways, I feel like it was a good game overall. Like you said, it could have been a Eastern Illinois game, where they blow it to a team that they shouldn't have, especially when it was like tied early. I know early on it was kind of a struggle, like back and forth a little bit. So it could have been a game that maybe could have kept being a fight the whole time and they could have lost. So it was good to see them at least, pull it away and pull out the way they should have altogether, because you never know how stuff can end out.
Yeah, I mean, this game was way too close at halftime. Well, I shouldn't say right before halftime. Iowa went on a little spurt there at the end of the first half and made it a 10-point lead. But that first half was very, very close. Iowa had the lead throughout, but Iowa struggled on the glass, especially in the first half. And, man, I think that might be, if you're looking at a singular team concern following one game, if we want to read into things, James, Iowa got out-rebounded. And
yeah,
final number 44-39. That's not a good number.
I didn't feel like they were that big either.
Well, I can tell you. Let me look at their size here. So Arkansas State, obviously Butler's 5'11", Dominguez 6'9". Trying to find the tallest guy. Luol 6'6". Todd is 6'4". Yeah, they're not there. They're not that big. I'm trying to remember which of these guys actually played a lot, but yeah, I mean, Iowa's not that big, and we know that.
Yeah.
Iowa doesn't have a true 7-footer that's playing right now, but physically, you should be out rebounding a team from conference. Are they even in the Sun Belt?
Yeah, I think there was somebody last time I knew, but
yeah. That's something. Honestly, here's the good news. If we're going to look at a silver lining with some of these deficiencies tonight, I've said this before, and I don't know how much truth there is to it, but I do believe that you have a game like this in which your team kind of sleepwalks through, whether that's the effects of coming off a tough game on the road at Creighton or not. You sleepwalk through a game, still win by double figures, but it gives you a lot of tape to look at, and they're going to have a little time now before they go out to San Diego. They play their first game
Thursday, right?
Oklahoma on Thursday, and so that's 6 days away or 5 days away, I guess. Well, no, technically
6.
So that's a good break here. Now you got to go out to San Diego, and I'm sure they're going to get a little bit of time off to be with family during their break. But I don't know that either. It'll be interesting to see what they look like in that tournament because you're going to be playing back to back to back.
You get a little bit of time off, but obviously you get Oklahoma team who I don't think they're great in the Big 12, but they're a Big 12 team, you know. So like it's going to be a fight because they're a top a major team. You know what I mean? Like a major conference team at least, maybe not a.
Right now, Oklahoma's 4-0. They've got wins over Central Michigan, Mississippi Valley State, Texas State, Rio Grande. They haven't played anybody.
Yeah, they haven't played anybody, so I don't know how good you could tell they are, but it's still it's still a Big 12 school, so you never know when it comes to that. But
Absolutely. And I'm just looking real quick. I know it's still early to be reading into rankings and ratings, but as of right now, Ken Pomeroy has Oklahoma as his 29th best team. And so they are considerably higher than Iowa. Iowa right now is 41.
yeah, but I feel like one thing that's gonna help them in that game is the battle they had with Creighton. You know, that could help them a lot with having the battle you had with Creighton, only losing by 8, and just fighting the way you fought against Creighton. That could be big time for them, and the fact that Oklahoma hasn't played a big team yet like that. Iowa has, and yes, they lost, but you know they still were throwing punches back and forth at points in that game. You know what I mean? I think that might give them a little bit more confidence when it comes to that, and the fact that they've always played somebody.
And let's not forget Oklahoma. Let me find here. I'm looking at the wrong. Let me just see if I can find this. So last year in men's hoops, why do I search basketball? It automatically comes up with women's basketball. Men's basketball last year, Oklahoma was 7-11 in the conference, and they were overall 19-16. I don't think they made the tournament. Did they, James?
I don't remember them making the tournament. I think they made the NIT. I can't remember though.
19-16, 7-11 probably is not good enough to get you in the tournament. But of course, there were a lot of teams that were. I mean, Iowa State was 7-11, but they were 22-13 overall. So Iowa's going to get a couple of tests there with Iowa State, Oklahoma out of the Big 12, and potentially a USC team that is projected to be pretty good this year. I know the other day, did they lose to somebody?
Yeah, Tyler Irving, UC Irvine, I think it was.
Right. Lost to UC Irvine, but they are still the 26th best team in Ken Pom. And regardless of who they play next, I mean, both those games are opportunities at solid non-con wins.
For sure, and that might be what you need with this. I mean, obviously you have like Iowa State on them too, but you do have some gimme games. So, but like we said, it's gimme game you can't lose, and I'm happy with what I've seen from Bowen because I know some people were talking about like, oh, you should start Brock, or not me, but like some people in the chat. You know, some people in the chat were saying I wasn't saying that, but some people in the chat were saying you should start Brock over him, this and that. And it's like Bowen's one, he's older too. This is stuff he can do. You know, he's a good defender, and when he puts the ball in the hole. He obviously looks good, but like he can do a little bit of everything. I feel like maybe not shoot a 3 as much, but he can do a little bit of everything in that respect.
We always talk about how star ratings and recruiting rankings don't really mean anything, but the reality is, you watch a guy like Dasonte Bowen, and I'm sure he's put in the work over these last 2 years. But last year he came out as a freshman, looked pretty timid, had his moments. He played really well against Duke a year ago. But in general, he didn't look ready for the moment. And now you see him. He looks like a starting Big Ten point guard, in my opinion. Now, will that translate over to the Big Ten level? And is he going to be able to consistently do that? We don't know. Time will tell. But, I mean, yeah, Brock Harding has flashed in a couple of games early, but he's really struggled these last 2 games, and Dasonte has stepped up. And Dasonte looks like he's got full control of the offense. I actually like the ball in his hands. Remember last year, Iowa kind of was in a weird place because I'm trying to think, they had Aaron Eulis, Tony Perkins running the point, Josh Dix. It was kind of point guard by committee. And, they're on the heels of losing Joe Toussaint a year ago. I think you and I both, we weren't real sure who was the better fit to handle the ball, Aaron Eulis or Tony Perkins. Right now, I mean, I really like Tony, don't get me wrong. But as far as a true point, Dasonte Bowen is the guy you want the ball in his hands. I feel most comfortable with the ball in his hands. And there's going to be times where Tony brings the ball up the court because he's obviously more experienced. He can attack. He's more of a polished mid-range scorer than Aaron. But I think Aaron's really, Aaron, Dasonte seems comfortable attacking the rim. He drew a couple of fouls tonight, had a steal in the first play of the game, and a flush on the other end, +1. So if he can bring that level of aggression offensively, they need a guy who with his athleticism to be able to defend in the backcourt. But they also need a guy that can step up and score.
That was one more thing I was gonna say. Is like I feel like his defense kind of leads in retrospect of like out of the starting five. Iowa's defense is not the focal point, but I feel like he's probably the best defender out of the starting five, just because he can sit down and guard. And I feel like that's an important trait you want kind of in the starting lineup too, where it's like you don't want all shooters out there. You want a little bit of a mixture of everything, with like you have somebody who can play defense, you have somebody like Peyton who can light you up from deep when he's on. You have Perkins and Pat McCaffrey can do a little bit of everything. And I feel like that's important to have a mixture in the starting lineup instead of just like all shooters or all one thing, if that makes sense.
One thing about DeSante, he only took 5 shots tonight, which efficiency gets 17 points on 5 shots. But what does that tell you, James? If he scored 17 points on just 5 field goal attempts?
I mean, he was getting to the free throw line, but so was the whole team. I think they've shot like what they said, like 46, 47 free throws.
Yeah, for the team, they shot 46 free throws. DeSante went to the free throw line 10 times, and he was 9 of 10 from the free throw line. So, I mean, that if your point guard can that tells you he's attacking the rim and looking for contact. Now, would you like to improve on the 3 assists? Absolutely. For the night, DeSante had no turnovers though. So, you'd like for him. He is a score first guy. We've talked about that. I think naturally, maybe Brock is more of a pass first kid, at least right now. But that's okay. I mean, when's the last time Iowa's had a point guard where you've been real comfortable with him attacking the rim and scoring? It's been
a while.
Like, think of the best point guards under Fran McCaffrey. Mike Gasol. He could attack the rim, but he was not the athlete that DeSante Bowen is. He's a pretty good shooter. You trusted him with the ball, most certainly.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's more of like a playmaker. I trust him more in playmaking, passing, like bring up the court when you needed him to. Then,
but I mean, my point is like, Bryce Cartwright, solid, but again, I don't think the athlete that DeSante is, and I don't think quite as comfortable attacking the rim as hard as DeSante does. And then Jordan Bohannon was just a 3-point shooter, and a really solid passer, but he was not a guy that that's going to consistently attack the rim. And same with Anthony Clemens, really good defender, could shoot the 3, could handle the ball, but I think DeSante has the potential to be the real deal and more of your modern day point, whether you like that or not, a guy who's looking to score.
Yeah, one more thing before I get off. The crowd was electric, I think they said, or whatever they said, even though there was like nobody there. So first off, hopefully people can show up. It's a Friday night, so I wish a little bit more people would show up. But
what do you mean a little more people? Did you see my tweet, James?
Yeah, there wasn't nobody there, but I mean, I wish more people would show up to support them. I mean, obviously I would if I could, but like I just feel like it'd be better for more people to show up, and especially in a game like that when they're more like expected to win. But I just can't believe he said that. I was like, bro, how you gonna say that when there's like nobody there? But
what did he say? What did the play?
I don't remember. He said like it was like this excitement or it was like electric in there, something like that. I'm like, that's not even close. I'm like, bro, you just like nobody there. I could literally see on my TV screen there's nobody there. So how are you gonna lie to me like that?
So real quick, before I get and surprisingly, right now James got nobody else on hold, so I don't need to rush you off or anything. But RTI Threads player of the game is DeSante Bowen, 17 points, 4 or 5 from the field, 9 of 10 from the free throw line with 3 assists, 0 turnovers, and obviously really important. Fran's teams play. They really protect the ball, value the ball. That's one thing the men's program has mastered, and something the women's program has not. And believe me, I understand the men's team. This program has its faults, but 7 turnovers for the Hawkeyes. They have not had a game in which they hit double digits in turnovers yet this year. And that is hard to do with how fast Iowa likes to play, to put up 88 tonight. But, obviously Cricky with the 25-9, 4 steals, 3 blocks. That's, 3 turnovers, but I could have easily went with Ben Cricky, kind of a toss-up in my mind. But I think the emergence of DeSante tonight was maybe the bigger story. Real quick, before I let you go, though, I want to show you something because you just brought up my tweet earlier, and you talked about how nobody was there. Somebody sent this in to me. I want to show you. I know you saw it. All right. I know you saw it, but let me show everybody. Take a look at this picture. Now you can see this, can't you?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I can. I already know what it looks like, but it's easier if you zoom in a little bit more. I don't know if you have that possibility, but For me, I had to zoom in a little bit more, and then I was surprised.
Let me see if we can open both of these, and I'm going to redo this. Let's see if we can
Okay.
open both of these, and I want to actually see. This is how incredible this is, and I mean this. It's almost like
It's, to be honest with you, if it was like a Tuesday night, it would be more maybe like, okay, people have school, more people have work in the morning. I feel like maybe it'd be a little bit more like not even acceptable, but like you can understand it a little bit more, if that makes sense. Like for a Friday night, I don't think this really makes sense. Like how like empty it was. It was like that makes no sense. It's a Friday night.
it's a Friday night.
Like
It,
su- support your team on a Friday night.
Take a look at that. I mean, we can zoom in more.
Like the whole row back behind them too is like wide open. Like there's like nobody in the whole row. I'm like,
why are we pointing at the ceiling here?
right there, you can see nobody.
Look at that. I mean, like, I mean, I can see the sections here, right? So you got G, you've got N, you've got I, and when you're looking at this, James, like in all reality, there's almost nobody in those three sections, like almost zero. Like, are these all band people down here?
And then
Students.
those are probably band people.
That's a Hawk's nest. This is the student. This is the student section.
But for me, it's also like, well, even next to it, it's not that busy, anyways. Like the 2 rows next to them really aren't that full, anyways. But to me, it's like people can't come on here and say, "Oh, they had no energy. Oh, it's this and that." Way, like you're the ones that don't show up, if that makes sense. Like I feel like obviously you should bring your own energy. I get that too, but I know like coaching basketball and stuff, like sometimes it feeds off the fans. You know what I mean? Like it feeds off the fans. Like the more fans you have, the more loud it is, the more you can get hyped up and get going. And with nobody there, sometimes it might be a little hard to get hyped up and get going. So I can
And
only
by the way,
imagine.
if anybody's wondering, so that I didn't realize that was the student section. I actually thought it was the student section. But if anybody's wondering what the opposite end zone is like, let me show this to everybody. This is the opposite end zone, and
You have a picture of that one too?
I do. I shared this on Twitter. Here is the other end zone, the non-student end zone, and it's a little bit better because you have some people sprinkled throughout, which is almost sad. The fact that again you can't get students to show up for a 7 p.m. game on a Friday in November. And by the way, the students, this is not like, I know people always we're getting close to the holiday and students are like this.
Okay, look how other schools go. I did guarantee you watch a Kansas game. I guarantee you they're there.
Here's what's crazy, James, is, and I know people are going to say, yeah, you complain every year about this. Well, I think it's insane. I think it's crazy. Why does it keep doing that? But just look at those empty seats. So I don't know. I just I don't know what the solution is other than taking steps to correct it. And one of the steps has to be moving the students.
Well,
And
and I don't know how many other schools do. Like I don't know. Obviously, we've talked about this before, but I don't know like if Kansas, Duke, and all them like students getting for free there. I can't answer that question, right? But like obviously, I know you and I students getting for free, and those games aren't obviously it's you and I. It's a different level, like from Big Ten to that. But like I know that could make a difference to us. Like people don't want to pay for kids or college students don't want to pay to go to the basketball games, which sounds sad in retrospect. But like sometimes they be like, "Oh, I'm not going to shell out the 30, 35, whatever it is to go to the game when I can just."
well, and a couple other things. I want to acknowledge something. There is a segment of the fan base, a large segment of the fan base that likes basketball, and that's proven by the fact that the women have sold out every single game. Now, you look at the student sections of those women's games, I don't think the student section is booming. Like, in general, I think students, not to stereotype all students, but I think in general, students, basketball fan students, would rather see the Iowa men. I would think they would rather see kind of that up and down flow. And nothing, women play up and down too, but the high flying type of men's basketball that Fran has put out on the floor, but he's not getting them there. And part of that, I think, is where the student section is. And then there seems to be a divide between the athletic department and the student body. Hopefully that's going to change with Beth Getz at the helm, but that's going to take some time. But like just in the meantime, I just it's just very sad because the fans are there and they were showing up when you got fans showing up for a women's game on a Thursday against Kansas State. And the next night, a Friday, which you'd think would be a more favorable evening, it's not too late. We always hear, well, 8 p.m. is too late, 6 p.m. is too early. Well, you got a 7 p.m. game. It didn't make any difference.
Right.
It didn't make any difference.
The thing is too, you see the support they have for football, and obviously I understand football is a moneymaker at most schools. It's the biggest moneymaker at most
Sure.
schools. I understand that part, but you see the support they give you for football, and then you see the support they give them for basketball, and it's kind of like, I feel like as a basketball player, I would be like, man, like this kind of shitty.
Well,
Like
it
I
doesn't
get
help
the
recruiting. It does not help recruiting.
yeah, and maybe that could be one reason why maybe he doesn't pull as many. If you watch a lot of it too when they recruit, what do they have to bring to recruits to football games?
Well, not always, but you're right. Sometimes, yes, you're
a lot,
right.
a lot of times they bring them to football games, and I feel like that's maybe just because like the student section, like the atmosphere is way different. Which, uh, I mean, that's obviously it's a bigger stadium too, but like, you get what I'm saying. Like,
Well, and I'll say this: I posted a video because Tim Kruger, we talked to Tim the other day with Creighton Sports, and he of course covers recruiting, and he was talking about Oswin, the four-star forward that's going to be potentially considered in Iowa and Creighton. He was in Omaha the other night checking out both teams, but just comparing, and I know that there's no difference. There's a huge difference between Iowa Creighton and Iowa Arkansas State, just level of difficulty, the Gavitt games, etc. But that Iowa Creighton game in Omaha was a Tuesday night game that started at 9 p.m. and it was packed. And the students were wild. Wild. I mean, wild. So if Osmond's going to come there and, I don't believe he was in Iowa City today, but like, okay, I'm going to go visit Creighton. Even though it's a late game, I'll probably see, we'll get an idea for what the arena's like. And he sees that at CHI Health Center. Compare that, even if he's just watching this game on BTN Plus. I can't imagine Osmond signing up for BTN Plus, but if he was to do that, like, it's reasonable to think it would hurt recruiting, and I'm sure it has.
yeah, and maybe that's something we can talk about for a later time. But I'll let you. I don't know if you have any callers behind you, but I'll let you get to whatever you got going on, and hopefully Iowa can win tomorrow. I won't be able to be on the post game show, but as you know, I'll watch it back like I always do. So it was fun at least to watch us win something after last night's debacle, kind of. And you win some, you lose some. I'm glad we won this one. Hopefully, we can have a good. Everybody here has a good and healthy and safe Thanksgiving. I think that's most important. And hopefully, we enjoy Iowa basketball win on Thursday and Nebraska beatdown on Friday. So
sounds good, sir. Appreciate the call, man. Lomansky says he was like button number 5. Yes, hit the like button if you have not done so. Appreciate that, Lomansky. Again, we're recapping Iowa's 88-74 victory over Arkansas State. And this is Iowa postgame here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Want to give a special thanks to Iowa Smokehouse and their meat sticks, their barbecue sauces, their salsas, their ketchups, their jerky. Everything is great. It's so good. It's so fresh. I see Tony's in the queue holding up his Iowa Smokehouse. He's going to be showing that off here in a minute. Use the code Hawkeyes at iowasmokehouse.com for 15% off your order, and you'll get free shipping on $50 orders. And as you support Iowa Smokehouse, you are supporting the work being done here at From the Hawkeye of the Storm, specifically the post-game coverage. So if you really like these post-game shows, the call-in format, etc., support Iowa Smokehouse and use that link, use that code Hawkeyes at iowasmokehouse.com. Tasting is believing with Iowa Smokehouse. Also want to give a special thanks to RTI Threads. You see I'm wearing the Cooper DeJean shirt here, the CD3 Laces Up shirt. Yes, and it's got the Cooper DeJean signature down here as well. Check out this sweatshirt. Get ready for winter and all their great products. They've also got Cooper's new It Wasn't a Fair Catch apparel. Get that while it's hot. I know that's been hot off the shelves, according to Marty Millard over with RTI Threads. CD3lacesup.com, or in the description below, we've got the link to RTI Threads' home website, including it actually includes a number of athletes, including Aaron Graves, who's now got a store through RTI Threads. So they're doing great things for Iowa sports, Iowa athletics, and this show. Shop RTI Threads, Cooper DeGenis apparel, along with Aaron Graves and other Iowa athletes. CD3lacesup.com and RTIthreads.com. Let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. We've got Josh on hold. Josh, welcome.
Hey, Cory.
How are you?
Good. Just to add on to the student section, I'm actually a student at the university.
Okay.
And I used to have student tickets until me and my wife had a kid and I stopped going to the games. But I agree with just the attendance showing up. I know it was the last day of classes for us, but it's embarrassing. And I think another thing about it is there's like Michigan State's like this where their student layout is different. You know how we have the nest. I think that's another factor that kind of plays into the environment. I like how some of the college courts have the students all the way wrapped around the court, but yeah, I don't know what it takes, what it's going to take to get more people going to the games, but yeah.
Well, what I'm just curious from a student body perspective, and I don't know what year you are right now, where you're at in school, but from a student body perspective, does there seem to you that there's a bit of a divide, or there's been a divide between the athletic department, specifically basketball, and the administration?
I mean, I with the administration, there hasn't been a push on to getting students to the game. I know they're big on like the football games, and I know students are more attracted to the games because of like tailgating and all that. But I really haven't. I'm a fifth year student, so that I mean I've been here for a good amount of time, but I haven't really felt a push with the administration towards getting us to the basketball games. And I know the student tickets are usually. I know when I was a sophomore and we had Garza and all that, they were like $75. Creighton, I applied to their PT program and they told me their tickets are free for students. So, and they're number 18 in the country this year. So it's like
Number 8.
Yeah, number 8. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, if there's got to be a point where it's like, if you aren't getting the crowd, these students in, that's what I mean. The students run like, I mean, that's what makes the environment so special is those crazy students, you know. And if you're not getting people to show up, I know wasn't a like Big Ten conference game, but it's just you see some games where they're playing non-conference opponents and it's packed, you know.
Real quick, you brought up the student. Before you get off here, and if you have anything else to say, that's fine. But I want to make sure we don't leave that subject. And you know, we're talking about potentially moving students, and you know, I know that the idea has been brought up, putting them behind the road bench. That would make sense. For a long time, it seemed like Gary Brada, whenever he was asked about that in public setting, it was, well, you know, we want to be loyal to our donors, the people who made this possible, and blah, blah, blah. I understand that. But if people don't remember this, and I know I posted the full interview. This was over a year ago. This was well before Gary Brada was either asked to step down or retire, whatever actually happened here a couple of months ago. But I want to share this. This is from an interview I had with Fran McCaffrey a little over a year ago, and I asked him about the potential of moving the students somewhere else to improve the experience at Carver. Here's what Fran had to say.
I think eventually we'll see students closer to the court. You know, when the Carver renovation took place about 10 years ago, those people that invested money to make that renovation happen were promised seats down close to the floor. They stepped up and made large donations, so they should be able to sit where they told they were going to sit. So now if you're going to change that, clearly there has to be conversation. You know, maybe on one side, you know, side behind the benches, and what are you talking about, 800 to 1,000 seats? You know, the first 800 to 1,000 students that show up, they get to sit right there. You're right on TV, cameras pointing right at you. You know, I'd probably like to see that. I think eventually we'll.
Okay, that's a repeat. So just real quick, the reason I wanted to bring that up is because even at the time, well before Gary Brada stepped away, Fran had acted like, hey, this is a possibility. We're going to see some changes here. So I don't want to just give all, if it happens here in the next year or two, say, well, that's all Beth gets. But I would guess Fran has been pushing for this for a while. And maybe, you know, I know he hadn't been real vocal. That was the first time I remember him saying something publicly about that. I was surprised that he was willing to say that on this interview. But I agree with you, Josh. If there was an effort to place the students in a different spot in that arena, it's just such a the opposite of a car. It's total opposite of what we see at Kinnick with the students right on top of you. You're watching this game today on BTM Plus, and there's so much space between those end zones and the back of the court. And I just find that incredible when it was built that it was designed the way it was designed, because it makes the students feel like I would think it would make the students feel like they're so far away from the action.
Yeah. When I used to go, I seemed like it was a mile away from the court. The excuse can be like, oh, we don't have such a great team this year. Even when we had Wheezy and Garza, and I mean, we had more students, but it wasn't what you would expect from a top 5 team, you know? So I don't know what they need to do to take a step forward with more students showing up, but I don't know.
Hopefully there's some changes, and obviously if you win, it helps. But this team is young, and I know people don't want to be patient with Fran, but the reality is it's going to take some time. But I also think there's going to be games like we saw on Tuesday against Creighton where they're fun to watch.
Yeah.
But some of these changes aren't going to be midseason changes. So,
yeah.
Josh, appreciate the call. Anything else?
No, I didn't get to watch the game since it was on BTM Plus. Was there a reason why he didn't play the freshmen as much this game, or?
Well, it just didn't seem like I don't think they played. I don't think he liked how they played in the first half. I don't know. I don't even know that we've got the official box score yet from Iowa. I'm sure we do. Do you have that in front of you? Is that why you're asking?
No, I checked it like 10 minutes ago, and I saw Harding only had 1 point, and then I saw Dembele. He didn't score, right? Or Price.
Correct.
Yeah.
So final minutes numbers right now, when I'm seeing according to the official box score, Price logged 9 minutes, Freeman 9 minutes, Dembele 8 minutes, Harding 6.5 minutes. I would guess those are all season lows. I don't know that based on the last 4 games. I have to go back, but part of the problem was the starters didn't play very well in the first half either. And I think if neither unit's playing great and the game is relatively close, Fran's going to go with the older unit, is my guess.
Yeah.
And I still think he's trying to, even though he's kept the lineup, he's kept that starting unit together, and he likes to keep a starting 5 if he can, unlike what we're seeing with the women right now. I think even though he's done that, he's kept that starting lineup consistent. He is mixing and matching groupings and trying to figure out what combinations work. We saw a different combination tonight maybe he's shown it before and I just forgot, but I think it was Ben Cricky, Tony Perkins, and then maybe 2 freshmen and a sophomore and Josh Dix, I think. So he's just going to be mixing and matching and seeing what combinations work. I know Ari Golden chat here asked if Dembele played. He did. He just was quiet, didn't take any shots. He was played 8 minutes, and in a sense, I guess that's good. He's not forcing it, but I'd like to see him be more aggressive because he's got, I think, really good athletic upside.
Yeah.
But they are true freshmen, and that's why I didn't have a ton of expectation for this team heading into the year, because all these guys are so young. They've exceeded my expectations 2 weeks in.
Yeah, I mean, especially from that Creighton game when was it around like the 15-minute mark or 12-minute mark where he put them in and they were able to stay in the game.
Yeah,
until we got the starters in. But I'm glad Bowen had a good game. I know the fans have been talking about having Harding start over him. And if that does happen, I think he's gone. I mean,
that won't happen.
You don't think? Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Not with Brock Flash those first couple of games, but like Desante Bowen was really good tonight. And Brock's numbers, it's not like Brock's been bad, but 6.5 minutes, 0 of 1 from the field, no assists, 1 turnover. There'd be absolutely no reason to play Brock.
Yeah.
Starting lineup right now. He's going to be good. I like this whole freshman class, but they still got a lot of room to improve.
Yeah. And I'm glad they're playing, because how popular the transfer portal is. It's nice to see them getting playing time. And once they're getting playing time now, just imagine when they're starting 3 or 4 years from now. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's all I got.
Well, appreciate the call, Josh.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Safe travels to Josh. I'm assuming you're going home, Josh, for the week with some time off from school. So safe travels there. And I can see the consensus in the chat. It is sad to see the lack of student body there and people just in general not showing up to these games. BB Quasar, moving the students won't matter. Play crappy teams, no one will show up. Well, I would disagree with you because they play a pretty darn good conference schedule every year. And we say that we had these same conversations every conference season. And obviously not to this extreme, but this is ridiculous. This is like less than, I saw Doug's comment in the chat. It looks like probably less than 9,000, maybe 8,000. I don't know what the official attendance was. I guess it's on the box score. Official attendance was 9,500. I don't know. That's what the box score says, folks. 9,500. But I think moving the students is a start because that will get more students to want to come. Okay. Even if the non-conference schedule is crappy, it should move students to want to be at more conference games, which is what they need, what this team needs, what this program needs. Number to call in, folks, is 515-635-1601. 515-635-1601. Let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. Clayton's on hold. Clayton, welcome to the show.
Hey, Cory, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. I'm going to throw your video off because I cannot see you, but I can hear you just fine.
Okay. Hey, I'll speak to the attendance thing. I mean, if you think about it, Iowa wrestling, Iowa football, Iowa basketball, men's, all compete with each other this time of year. So you can't expect the students to attend everything every single time. And at this point, the Iowa women and the Iowa wrestling and the Iowa football are more, they're more willing to go to those things. So they might be willing to forego the Iowa men's basketball because they can't do everything. Do you have any input on that?
Well, first of all, I think there's a way to resolve that. I don't know what the student attendance at women's basketball games is. I know the games are sold out, but I don't know from game to game what student attendance is like. I mean, I've watched every game, of course. I have not been at an Iowa women's basketball game this year, but I don't get the feel like the students are packing those seats. I don't know. Maybe they are, and I'm just totally oblivious to it. But I don't know. You're saying that, you can't expect them to attend all these events. I mean, the fact that men's basketball is behind, and I love women's basketball, don't get me wrong, but the fact that men's basketball at Iowa is behind women's basketball and wrestling, I think that says more about men's basketball. That's more of a reflection of the problem we have, whether it be the divide between the program and the athletic department or the team itself or coaching, whatever the case may be, because football and men's basketball should be king and queen. Am I wrong?
No, I couldn't agree more. I'm looking at where we're at and thinking about, people are, complaining about attendance. And I feel like that's where we're at, is that our athletic departments are competing for attention.
Yeah. Well, you could be right on that. All I know is I will say this. Go back to the previous statement that was made. If that's the theory, keep in mind, Clayton, that you only have like 1 month of the year, less than 1 month of the year, where football and basketball overlap. So if the students aren't going to football, women's basketball, and wrestling and men's basketball because there's too much, that's just too much, then why is it when football ends, the students don't start showing up in droves to men's basketball?
Point taken, Cory. Point taken.
I mean, January, February, March, I don't notice much of an impact as far as, warmer weather comes, it's still in general, they have to, it seems like this program needs perfect circumstances for students to, I don't even know the last time they packed the end zones, but it seems like everything has to be perfect. It has to be a mid-afternoon Saturday game against a top 5 team, and they got to be on a winning streak. Like, everything has to be perfect. And if it's anything less than perfect, then they're not there. And I'm not saying they're vocalizing those excuses, but that's what it feels like.
I couldn't agree more, Corey. I don't know what to counter that with. I mean, I think you're right.
But, solution-wise, hopefully that's something that Beth is looking at. I have a lot of respect for Beth Getz. I think she's the person for this job, and I know she's expressed a desire to help, and, those wheels may have already been set in motion, but they're not moving yet. They're at least, I shouldn't say that, they haven't arrived at the station yet.
For sure. And it's great to see a win tonight. Everybody loves a win. But, with the attendance thing being such a factor, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's, competing with our own people. I don't know.
Oh, I appreciate the theory. I mean, you're not the only one that has thrown out these different hypotheses, and maybe you're right. And that's, I think that's something that hopefully, I don't know that it happened under Gary Brada, but that's something that, the strategists and because there are people working behind the scenes and looking at all this. Hopefully they're researching this and trying to figure out, whether it be through student surveys or, whatever the case may be, how to get students to games. And if you have to give away tickets, then give away tickets. I guarantee, I'll say this, Clayton, I guarantee you, if Iowa said every game from here on out, student tickets are free, they'd probably double, if not more than double, their student attendance on a game in, game out basis.
I don't have any doubt about that, Corey. I don't have any doubt.
How much are you going to lose money-wise if you do that? I don't know how many students, what the capacity for the student section is, but...
Oh, it's negligible, because I did not go to the University of Iowa, but I dated someone that was there, and I got the guest tickets, and they were cheap. I mean, I was in college, and I could afford these tickets, so it didn't matter. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm with you, Corey.
James asked that question. I don't know how much student tickets are. They're probably in the range of $10. Greg says $5. There is something, the fact that you're only charging $5 for student tickets, how simple would it be just to say it's free? You're already not making much off students. And, it's as simple as students don't want to have to pay anything. They don't want to have to give a credit card up or whatever the case may be. Just hand out tickets. It's very simple. I don't know. Maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but
no, I don't think you are. I think it's that simple, Corey. But I appreciate your time, man, and I always love talking to you, and I enjoy your show.
Appreciate it, sir. Yeah. Sometimes when you have games against Arkansas State where the team didn't play very well, there's not a whole lot to talk about other than the attendance issue. So, there's that. Spot brings up, yes, Bowen did look good tonight. He is our RTI Threads player of the game again on the night. Desante Bowen went for 17 points, 4 of 5 from the free throw line. But look at how many times he got 4 of 5 from the field, 10 different free throw attempts. He's 90% from the free throw line. Those are great numbers for your point guard. You'd like him to get a few more assists, but he had 0 turnovers on the day. I'm sure Fran is going to be pleased when he looks at the stat sheet and what he got from Desante Bowen. Let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. We've got Tony. Tony, welcome.
Hey, how you doing? I have my stuff. There we go. Yeah.
Well, what do you got? What do you got in the left hand first?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, you got I've not had the cheesy hardwood smoked beef sticks. Okay, those sound good. I've not had those yet. And I have, beef stick stubbies. I have not had those either. Interesting. You're diversifying, Tony.
We have those in South Dakota, and you don't have them in local Iowa.
We have them, but their selection's so big.
Gotcha.
My wife loves the steak bites, so between the steak bites and the ranch hand jerky, that's kind of what we typically get.
Now, I did try the steak bites, but I'm not much of a spicy person. And the only one they have up here is like the spicy jalapeno ones or whatever,
Okay.
or something like that. So,
Yeah.
I'm not a lawyer or legal person, but is hearsay when I hear something from somebody else who heard it from somebody else, correct?
Sure. But you can repeat it if you'd like here. This is an open forum.
Okay. I was just trying to lighten the mood or whatever. But I have heard that there is a college class at the University of Iowa, that one of their projects this semester is fixing the men's basketball attendance. And the students are presenting ideas of how to fix the attendance. And Beth Getz is actually actively involved with it.
Good.
So the wheels may be in motion.
Yeah. Oh, I have no doubt they are. I mean, I don't think Fran would have said what he said a year ago if there weren't at least some preliminary wheels in motion. And I would guess that Beth Getz would only speed up that process because she obviously seems more concerned about these types of issues than Gary ever did. Yeah.
Yeah. She seems very active and hands-on and stuff like that. So.
And by the way, I'm just saying, and I kind of took a shot at some Creighton fans after the Creighton game the other night. But I will say this, Tony, as an objective person, having gone to that game in Omaha on a Tuesday at 9 p.m., game started at like 9:10, 9:15. Yeah. Fabulous venue. Fabulous environment. Fabulous venue. Engaged fans, student body going nuts with towels, lighting, awesome experience, mezzanine, middle mezzanine, packed house, everything. College basketball as it should be. Mm-hmm. Tonight, Carver, attendance, crowd, seats, students, lack thereof, college basketball as it shouldn't be. Yeah. And that is all I have to compare this week.
How did they, I mean, I listened to the Creighton, post-game show you had. Do they pass the eye test for you since now you've seen them in person?
I mean, I think the I know Tim Kruger actually reached. I don't think he'd mind me saying this. He felt like Brenner didn't play real great on Tuesday, and in general, I think they missed some shots that they maybe wouldn't normally miss in the first half. But you got to give Iowa credit, and Tim did too. I think Iowa made them play a little bit left-handed in some regards. It's so early. Things like that mid-range jump shot by Cricky. That was the first time we as Iowa fans really got a good look at that, and he did it again tonight. But I think that's, one thing about these early season games. Teams are still kind of feeling out themselves, feeling out the opponent. So I have no doubt Creighton can win. I made the comment during the game tonight. I think Creighton can win it all. Because college basketball is crazy. Like, what did we have last year? UConn and San Diego State. I could see Creighton with Shireman and with Alexander and with Kalkbrenner and the transfer from Utah State. Yeah, I mean, they could go out and win it all, certainly win the Big East. So we'll see. It would obviously help Iowa's resume if they go out and look really good the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm. And it seems like, I think if I recall, you said Iowa was here and you're now about here with them after seeing them. Is that accurate? Or
I would
just
say
a little?
I would say so. However, one game. And it's the same thing we'd say about Iowa football's offense this past week. Mm-hmm. I need to see more than just one good performance against Rutgers. And it's just like the Iowa women last night against Kansas State. I need to see more than one just bad performance against Kansas State to assume that, this team's got massive problems. Like, they've got some issues, maybe didn't work out, but it's one game. And, what we saw tonight was not very inspiring from the men. It's not like they lost, but did their performance, I know you watched it because, you have Big Ten Plus. Did this game this evening inspire you, Tony?
I actually listened to it. I'm sorry, but I do have Big Ten Plus. I'm gonna rewatch it. So I actually listened to it.
Why'd you listen?
I was out. I do like ride share, and I just did that to make a couple bucks tonight and listen to the game. So I got paid to listen to the game, and I was planning on being home after the game. So, but I will be rewatching it tomorrow. Yes, I do have Big Ten Plus. So.
By the way, if I didn't do this post game, this would be the type of game where I would not have watched live. I would have gone and done something that I wanted to do on a Friday night and then watched it later, but I care about all of you. So So I gotta watch it live. Anyways,
Are you? I just got an email from the Swarm today, and they're doing an event before that men's women's basketball doubleheader. Are you planning? Do you have tickets to that? I guess first of all, the one in Des Moines.
I don't have tickets to that, and
Okay.
would I consider going down? Yeah, maybe. I don't know what StubHub prices are like. I know it's sold out.
Oh, it's not. It's not pretty. I'll say that much. Stuff.
Why?
Last I saw was nosebleeds were close to 3 digits. I'm not joking.
Why would?
I'm not. Let me pull it up. I'll pull it up right now.
Listen, I know this sounds really bad. Maybe I'm
No,
being
you're fine.
late in the evening, and I'm kind of being a little bit snarky as Tony logs off. Why would anybody pay $100 or more to see the Iowa women play Cleveland State and watch the men play Florida A&M in Wells Fargo Arena? And by the way, if what Tony just said is correct, we're talking nosebleeds in Wells Fargo. Have you been to the nosebleeds in Wells Fargo? I have. It's not pretty.
Hold on. I'm back. Okay.
Nosebleeds in Wells Fargo Arena are not pretty. Why would anybody do that?
To make money.
No.
I mean,
Why anybody would pay $100 for nosebleeds at Wells Fargo to watch the Iowa men beat up on Florida A&M and watch the women beat up on Cleveland State? That's insane.
I wish I had an answer because I wanted to get. I'm in the 200s, and I wanted to get something close to where I was at for a few friends and stuff, and they were selling for $200 a pop.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. You live in Sioux City.
Sioux Falls.
Sioux Falls.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I gotta just pause.
No, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine.
You live in Sioux Falls.
Correct.
How long of a drive is it to Des Moines?
4.
You're driving 4 hours.
Correct.
To watch Iowa, Cleveland State, and Iowa, Florida A&M. You, my friend, are a true Hawkeye. When did you decide to do that? I'm curious.
Well, if I didn't decide the day of, I wouldn't have got tickets at Face. I'll tell you that much. That thing sold out in less than 15 minutes.
So can I ask you what was Face?
I think it was like 54.
Okay. That's okay. That's not bad. Now, are you in the nosebleeds?
No, I'm in the 200s, which is not those ones that have like 5 rows, like in the middle, not the hundreds, but not the
Attaboy.
I don't know if they're club seats or something like that, but they're, yeah. And, I used to live in Des Moines for a while, and I'm going to see with my best friend. We planned on it, and
I'm not making fun of you, Tony.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
But I would pay $100 to be sitting in nosebleeds to watch these Iowa teams beat up on a couple of G5s. I just wouldn't do it. But that I would do what you just did if I knew, and I wasn't concerned enough. One thing I kind of regret doing, and it's probably too late to do it, I would like to cover that event down there as someone in the media. But it's probably late to request credentials for that because I'm guessing they have limited space because you have the men and the women. I don't know that, but yeah, I don't mind Wells Fargo, but I'm not sitting up in the top row.
Yeah, I saw. I did recheck now. That was 3 weeks ago. I checked, and T Hink was saying it too in the chat. StubHub now the cheapest is $55 for the nosebleeds.
Okay, but
if you want anything, pretty much, let's see, section 124, $1,000 each. Section 7.
What?
I'm not joking. This is on StubHub.
Paying $1,000 for that?
I don't know. Section 7, which must be the floor seating because it's a single digit, $848 to get 2 floor seats.
Okay, real quick, I want to address the comment in the chat. Go Hawks says, "Who do you think has the most, if any, potential to make it to the NBA?" Fabulous question. I said a couple of years ago that I thought Tony Perkins, given his body, might have a chance if he could develop as a point guard in the NBA. I don't know that he's developed his ball skills to a point where I would project him to be an NBA prospect in a couple of years. He's got an extra year if he wants to come back next year, but I think he'll play pro somewhere. I think the best person right now, like early projection-wise, Laje Dembele. Like, you watch him physically, and you go see that big boy step out and hit some threes. I'm like, okay, this guy's got something. Like, I know it's early, it's projecting. I know there was some talk early on in Peyton's career, could be the next Duncan Robinson. there aren't a lot of Duncan Robinson success type stories. But, maybe Peyton's still relatively young. He's got some time left if he really develops with his length. I question his defense, his on-ball defense especially. But I would say Lodgy, as of right now, even though we've seen him for like 4 games.
What about Dix?
What about him?
No, I mean, what about him as a potential? I mean, we don't see him that much, but I think his defense is a little better than Sanford's, and if you're using defense, and he can be not quite the level of scorer that Sanford is, but he may be a more complete player because of both ends of the court.
Too small.
Fair enough. Isn't he 6'6"? I mean, he doesn't have any muscle. Yeah, he's not 6'6". I swear he's 6'6".
6'5".
Okay.
He's listed at 6'5". I think he's closer to 6'4".
Probably. And you've probably seen him in person more than I have, I'm sure, if you've been to a media day or something.
No, I actually haven't done media day the last 2 years.
Okay.
But I think he's probably closer to 6. I mean, I've seen him in person. In fact, had a conversation with real brief conversation with Owen Freeman's father Tuesday after the Creighton game, and I went down to tell him how impressed I was with Owen. And so I was able to kind of see Cricky's size, and you see guys like Josh Dix, and I don't think like Cricky physically, I'm actually really impressed with his ability to defend so far, because I didn't have much expectation at all. He had, how many blocks did he have tonight? He had,
and how many steals?
Yeah, he had 4 steals and 3 blocks. That's really good, and he's probably about the same size. Seeing him in person, he's probably about the same size as Phillip was. But they're different players, and both those guys, I mean, so far, Cricky, 4 games in his career at Iowa, really a difference maker. He's a leading scorer right now.
Speaking of Lodgy, did you see the kid's fluent in 3 languages? Or no, 4. Because he's from Africa, and whatever country he's from, he's fluent in that dialect. He's fluent in French, Spanish, and English.
Spanish, interesting. Okay.
Because he lived in Spain, I think, for a while or something like that. So
he's got
he's got an interesting story.
Well, and I don't want this to sound weird. He's got an interesting body.
Yes.
Like physically, like a basketball body. He doesn't look like a true freshman. And the way he runs, and then the fact that he can already, step out and make a 3. That might be a huge diamond in the rough for Fran, long run. He's
then
really athletic. He jumps.
The men's basketball social media today before the game, they posted the highlight of that spin move at Creighton, where he could feel that guy on him, and it was just whoop, and then the guy just fell down and he left him, left him in the dust.
And then Lodgy just sunk,
just to turn around. Yeah. It was great. Now, you said in that post game, and I think I tweeted it at you too, that you realized that they're J-skers. I don't know if you use that term, but they're J-skers is the name, the Creighton Blue Jay, Nebraska Husker football fans. And
I can tell you, Tim listened to the show the other night, because Tim sent me about 8 paragraphs in response to that. And one thing Tim said to me, and it took me a while to read this, but he said the Creighton fan base is divided up like this: 35% diehard Blue Jay fans hate the Huskers, 40% J-skers, cheer for Nebraska football, but Creighton in every other sport. The other 25% cheers for most Husker sports, but Jay's hoops as well. So, and I believe him on that. I mean, it's probably a wide variety, and I'm not trying to stereotype anybody specifically. I was just disappointed with some people around me. So
what's that? Is that, if my quick math's correct, that's 2/3. 25 and 40. Yeah. So 2/3 of them are.
I mean, I had people. One thing I had, Tony, on Tuesday. I mean, people were so ridiculous behind me. We were not in the student section, and I had these people behind us I could see spit flying over my shoulder. They're just going nuts, and I can see saliva traveling through the air. Like, this is just, I understand it's a game, and believe me, I was into the game as well. I had a guy, you'll like this. I had a guy like 5 minutes into the game. He was sitting row in front of us over to the right. He was drinking a beer, but an older guy. And it was like one of the first couple possessions. And these guys behind us were rowdy. So what am I going to do? If you've ever been with me to a road game, Tony, I am, I may seem like I'm not a homer always on this show, but if I'm in a game, I love going to road games because I love being the loudest one in my section. And so, like, right away, Cricky starts nailing jump shots. And these guys behind us were, screaming about Alexander, how they couldn't guard him. So Cricky kept nailing these mid-rangers. And so I started yelling, can't be guarded. And I yelled, go Hawks, like one time. And this guy right in front of us to the right turned, and he's a Creighton fan, turned and gave me the dirtiest look. And I just looked at him. I said, what's up? And he turned up like the dirtiest look. I have been to so many road games and road venues, and I don't know that I've ever had a response like that. So anyways.
Now, have you ever been to a game as a neutral fan?
Oh, yeah.
Where you're a fan of either team?
Oh, as a neutral fan. Oh, of course.
Yeah, like you don't care about either team. You just care about the game.
I live in Ames.
Okay, so I'm correlating that because last year, I think it was last year. Yeah, last year I went to Iowa State, Kansas at Hilton, and I just sit there and watch, and I didn't get up. I just sat there. I had an aisle seat, and I just sat there. And it was about the second half, and this lady like taps me on the shoulder. She's like, why aren't you cheering or anything like that? And I had my Iowa shirt on. I turned on, like, because I'm an Iowa fan. I'm just here enjoying the game. Because Hilton goes nuts. You know what I mean? Right. And like that, your story there compares me to when I go to games. When I went to games at Hilton, they think Iowa State never commits a foul.
I know. Yeah, I know.
It's awful.
It's a great, but Tony.
It's a great, 100%. And your story about CHI, where like the students were all involved and everything, like they get an A+ for their environment there. It's a great environment, Hilton. I hate them, but it's a great environment. Like I wish we could duplicate that at Carver.
We don't. It's not even in the same.
It's not even close. It's not even in the same realm, light year, universe. It's not even close.
It really isn't.
It isn't.
Let's be honest too. If you compared women's, if you like 10 years ago, maybe 10 years ago is a bad comparison. Even 5 years ago, if you took a picture of just the arena and the attendance of the women's game last night and the men's game today, you would have said without a doubt that today's crowd was a women's game.
Yep.
And that those were flipped.
Yep.
I mean, it's just incredible how the tide has turned right now with those two sports. So,
and I think part of it is like someone hit on it earlier that I think you put the comment up, like a lot of the locals may not like Fran and whatever. And I mean, I'm very outspoken. I like him. I wish he could stay as long as he wants. I don't know if he's going to.
Well, hold on a second. I hope it's not some unconditional thing that you have for Fran. You say you hope he stays as long as he wants.
I mean, as long as he keeps the same results up that he has, where he's constantly making the NCAA. You know what I mean? I'm not saying like.
So you are okay with bowing out in the first or second round every year.
I'm not okay with it. No,
you are, because you say
you're not okay with it. No, but you.
I mean, you're basically saying till death do us part, Fran. Like whatever we need to keep you here until your last days. I mean,
man, I just think there's a lot of, like Coach Close has said, March, the tournament is, and I don't know, it's just something different. It's so hard to be successful. I understand, but he did win the Big Ten tournament, so he does have postseason success. I'm trying to buy the guy some time. Okay,
he bought himself time 2 years ago, but last year, I after last year's result, I can empathize with a lot of fans who are tired.
Now, who do you think? I mean, obviously the result with Brian has been settled, But who do you think fans were more tired of before the football season, Brian or Fran?
Oh, Brian.
I'm not as in touch with football as I am with basketball.
Oh, Brian, without a doubt.
Okay, so that part wasn't even closer. Excuse
Well,
me.
it's apples to oranges, right? I mean, you have a football program that is very successful. I shouldn't say very successful. It is successful, right?
Yep.
But they've had a huge deficiency, and the deficiency has been overseen by Brian Ferentz, who happens to be Kirk Ferentz's son now, for how many years? 6 years. Basketball, you have a deficiency, but the head coach has also led this team to postseason berths, a Big Ten tournament win here a couple of years ago. So I think it's apples to oranges.
Okay. And I really wish Fran would have got a chance to coach that 2020 team in the postseason.
I know, but
you can't go off that.
You can't. And they did. Let's not forget they did lose their last game before everything shut down.
Yes. No, it did. I thought they were playing that same day it shut down. They lost their last regular season game because they hadn't got a chance to play in the Big Ten tournament, right? Because stuff shut down the first day of the Big Ten tournament.
Correct. They didn't play yet.
Yeah, they lost their last regular season game, but they hadn't played in the postseason.
Right, exactly. I'm just saying it's not like they were going into the tournament with tons of momentum. I agree that team had a chance to be, make a run because of who they had in the team. But I also thought the following year they had a chance and they didn't.
Yeah.
I thought, they've had Luka Garza, National Player of the Year, 2 years, and then Keegan Murray and Chris Murray. That's 4 years, and they have one Big Ten tournament to show for it and no Sweet 16s.
Yeah. I mean, I can't dispute that, I guess to me it's I know people say this, but I just remember watching Licklider games, and this makes me appreciate this even more because of suffering. I mean, watching almost every Licklider game.
But I did too, Tony.
Yeah.
We have different perspectives because I watched Licklider too, but I don't have, I'm not. Believe me, when Fran McCaffrey is introduced, I'm not reading wedding bells like you are.
Oh, I wasn't when he was introduced. He's growing on me. Yeah.
No, I'm not. I'm introduced before every game.
Gotcha.
I'm assuming you have like some mantra when he's introduced, till death do us part, Fran, till death do us part. Is that your mantra?
No, but I did actually find, because I wasn't a student when they gave these shirts away, but I did find on eBay, and I do have a My Man Fran, and I forgot what the other one was. They had like 2 student section shirts. It was like My Man Fran and something else like Franimal or something like that.
You know I have. Have you seen my Super Fran shirt?
Super Fran, that's the yeah.
I've got a Super Fran shirt.
Yeah. Now, what was it? The Franwich he had with Applebee's. Remember when it was him and Hoiberg?
I believe so. The Hoiberger, yeah.
Yeah. So,
and then they have the Otzelberger now.
They probably do. I'm sure. Yeah. Have you looked ahead? What's your schedule going to be like? Because I mean, Thursday and Friday next week's going to be pretty busy.
Well, first of all, I can I be completely honest?
Go ahead. Yeah.
I don't even know that I probably will be for the sake of this show, but I don't even really. Do you want to get Flow Hoops?
Are you talking about for the men's game?
For the women's games.
Oh no, I was talking about the men's. I'm sorry, because next Thursday, Friday. Because did you see how they did that schedule for that San Diego tournament?
Yes, but what I'm saying is the women play on the same days. You have
they don't. I didn't even know that. I'm sorry. No, I haven't got
in a tournament down in Florida. The same. That's the problem.
Okay.
You've got 3 sports completely overlapping.
Okay. Now I know that. Did you see that tournament? How they scheduled Iowa for the men's basketball tournament for that Thursday, Friday?
I have not looked. There's actually tip-off times already.
Both. Iowa is locked in to the 5:00 start time because they know that people wouldn't watch if they lost their first game because it would be at the same time as Nebraska. They actually have Iowa opposite, of the start time for the football game on Black Friday. So Iowa's tip times are locked in for next Thursday and Friday, no matter what happens, win or lose.
To avoid conflict with.
Correct.
Well, that's smart. That's the first time.
Correct.
one of these preseason tournaments has done something that I think is smart in relation to Black Friday game.
Yes. So no, they've actually, win or lose, Iowa is going to be playing at a different time than the football team on Friday.
Why does T. Hink say that they're playing at 2:30 on Thanksgiving?
It's on the website. Let me hold on. My mouse went off.
Okay. Real quick,
I'm telling you, it's locked in.
Let me put a plug in real quick for
Yeah.
For our sponsor. I talked about our RTI Threads player of the game, Desante Bowen, this evening, and again, Iowa defeating Arkansas State 88-74. And want to give a special thank you to Iowa Smokehouse. We talked about them earlier, but Tony's been a proud supporter of Smokehouse, and they are a local company right in the state of Iowa, and even know the owners, good people, and they've been growing this business for years. Visit iowasmokehouse.com and browse their awesome selection of meat sticks, jerky, salsas, barbecue sauces, and more. And use the code Hawkeyes for 15% off your order. Great for game day or any day to fill you and your family's snacking needs. Shop now, iowasmokehouse.com, and use the code Hawkeyes for 15% off your order. We appreciate Iowa Smokehouse for sponsoring Iowa postgame coverage here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. All right, Tony, what do you got? Oh, Tony's muted. Let's get.
Hold on.
I got you.
So I'm good. Okay. No, he's saying it's 2:00 on Thanksgiving. But we're talking about Black Friday. Iowa is playing at 5:00 no matter what, and it's on Fox. So I believe the football game's on Fox as well, right?
No, football game's on CBS.
Okay. Well, Iowa was on original Fox on Friday and Fox Sports 1 on Thursday. So they're 2:00 Thursday on Thanksgiving on Fox Sports 1, and then 5:00 on over-the-air Fox on Friday. No matter win or lose, they've locked them into that time. So I think we were confusing which one.
I thought you said they had the same tip time each day, is what I thought.
No, I'm sorry. No, I meant like
it's locked in.
It's locked in, win or lose. Their Friday tip time is locked in, win or lose.
Okay.
So that's what I was meaning is I'm assuming you'll probably do a football post game during that game. Would be my guess.
Who, me?
Yeah, or I don't even know what you're doing, honestly.
Well, the game's at 5:30.
The basketball game?
Yeah,
5:00, 5 p.m.
Well, the football game will be done at 2:30.
Oh, isn't it 11 a.m. to kick?
It's an 11 a.m. game.
Okay, well then that changes everything, I guess. So
I'm pretty sure. Let me double check that.
Or have they even announced it?
Yeah, it's 11 a.m. CBS. Yeah, I'll be done with. We'll get the post game done right before that game starts.
Gotcha. Before that even starts. Okay.
Yep.
Sounds good. And then I think you said that Coach Close is still wearing World's Carmen San Diego and just traveling. And
yeah, he will be with us at some point. He will be with us. And by the way, we're getting some people locked in for Iowa women's basketball postgame. Great things, cool things on the horizon for the women's show throughout the year. So
yeah, because I know you had a couple different ones during the postseason run last year.
Yeah, but the problem is
one of them's an assistant coach now.
Nia Davis, staff, and then the other one is Sam Logic, who's in the middle of playing professionally overseas. So, anyways, so we're gonna work something out. So it's gonna be good.
Okay, sounds good. So I think is there another big women's game before then, or is there's their next game's the tournament?
I believe their next game is the tournament.
Okay.
Yeah, because the men play. Well, no, hold on a second. Let me confirm that. The men play Thursday against Oklahoma. The women play next against Drake on Sunday. So they get Drake on Sunday, and then they go down to Astoria, Florida, and Estero, Florida. I don't even know where that's at. Estero, Florida, and they play. So their schedule down in Florida, for anybody that wonders, Friday, the same day as you said that the men play, right? So I don't know. I don't know why you would do this. All right. Friday, the women play at 6:30. You would think there'd be a way for these tournaments to figure out how not to overlap, because a lot
aren't they in the bottom of the bracket though of that tournament? I think.
What does that got to do with anything?
Well, I'm just saying if they're at the bottom of the bracket, it might not start till 7. because of games going long before them and stuff like that. You should still schedule it later than 7.
But you said the men's game starts at 5.
Correct.
So
if
we're
their
going
game starts at 6:30, it might not start in real time like 7 because of other games running longer.
So I'm going to have to do what you're saying is I'm going to have to do post-game coverage of the women, of the men during the middle of the women's game. And
I don't know
here. And then as soon as that game goes final, quit this stream and another stream for that post-game. Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't know what you're going to do because I mean, if that
I don't know what I'm going to do either. So.
If that Friday goes how I want, we'd be celebrating a tournament championship for the men's team.
Sure.
And that would be 2 probably quad 1 wins because I think both teams would be in the top 50.
So how do you think Iowa fans, women's basketball fans, will respond to having to pay, I think it's $20 for Flow Sports for 3 games?
Well, since I already told you the StubHub ticket prices, and I can tell you can go on StubHub after this and see what people are paying just to see Caitlin play because Carver's sold out. I would bet there's going to be some of them who pay that $20.
Well, I hope so because you would think I can't believe Flow Sports is even around. I remember when they launched like 8 or 9 years ago, and I remember thinking this is a dying cause. And they're still around, so I guess.
Well, they're mainly like hockey and other sports,
wrestling.
Like more the non-revenue sports, like hockey and wrestling and stuff like that.
So why do we have to have them for basketball?
It's probably something to do with the tournament that we're in. That's the contract they signed.
Yeah.
Well, I've took up enough of your time. I appreciate it.
All right,
so
Tony.
I'll probably see you next Thursday on Turkey Day.
Sounds good, Tony. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Appreciate Tony calling into our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. Let's go to our final caller of the night, and then we'll wrap this thing up. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line?
Cory, it's John.
Hey, John.
Cory, it's all about going to this game. And if you go on Hawkeyesports.com, click on men's basketball and go to tickets, and then 95% of this arena is sold out. As far as tickets, the people are just physically not showing up.
You talking about for the men?
Yeah. Normally I can go in there and get a single and cherry pick a seat and be sitting 16 to 25 rows up, and they're all gone this year. About the only thing left is kind of like in the end zone or at the end of the arena. And around the 38th, the top 2 rows. I couldn't believe it.
For every game or just this game?
The first few I looked at, and I looked at Michigan too. I haven't checked farther into the schedule, but they're just physically not showing up.
Well,
it seems like.
Yeah, I'm not a ticket expert, John, but I will say this: I do wonder with all these different third-party sites like Vivid Seats and SeatGeek and StubHub, if there are simply these companies are buying up tickets somehow in hopes of reselling for higher face value. I can't imagine they would do that for games like this where you go on StubHub and their tickets for like $2 on StubHub. So I don't know if that's the explanation, but that would be the only thing I can think of is that there are companies and maybe even third-party companies, ticket-selling companies that are buying the tickets and trying to resell them, but I don't know.
Well, I went in there one time, and I was sitting about 16 rows up. I mean, I could hear Fran in the huddle. And I said to a young people sitting next to me, I said, "Are these your seats? Because these are pretty sweet seats." And they said, "No, they belong to the company I work for." So a lot of that might be companies buying them up and then giving them out as props to the customers too.
Right. Yeah. No, you could be right. That just seems like a lot. And I don't know why that would have changed this year with all the attention with women's basketball. You would think that would sort of only take away from men's basketball attendance, which already has been bad. Maybe they're, I don't know. Maybe they, the only thing, maybe is this a possibility, John? And I'm just speculating on this, but could the university, their system only show certain seats to make it look like they're coveted tickets and it's a hot ticket, and then as those get sold and gobbled up, they open more up on the map? I don't know.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, usually what I do is I'll see a seat on the seating chart, and then the next day I'll call up to the ticket office and say, "Is this still available?" You know, section CC, row 16, seat 13.
Yeah.
To check and make sure. There's times I called up and it'll show it on the seating chart was available, and then it won't be available. They'll say, "No, that seat's sold." So.
Right. Well, I don't know. I just hope that whatever the case is, if this team can continue to win, people will show up. But again, it just seems like we need perfect circumstances to sell this arena out and to actually have students in the section. So I don't know. And now we're heading into a holiday break where students have less of a reason to be there.
Yeah. You were talking about going to away games. I took my daughter and went to Minnesota football game one time, and we were sitting there, and the announcer would go, "It's another Minnesota Golden Gopher," and the crowd would go, "First down." Well, I was stopped him on the third down, and I yelled out, "It's not another Minnesota Golden Gopher first down." And my daughter goes, "Shut up, Dad, you're going to get us beat up."
You sound like me, John. That's exactly who I am at road games. I was doing the same thing at Wisconsin, at Madison a couple of weeks ago. So I totally understand.
Well, I went over to, I've been to Soldier Field and to Minnesota and to down to the Outback Bowl when we played Florida the second time, and I went to Texas. My sister lives in San Antonio, and when we played Texas in the Alamo Bowl, and that was awesome. I heard a bunch of crap from Texas people down there. We were sitting in a restaurant, and a lady seen my Iowa shirt, and she goes, "You know, the game's not going to last very long, don't you?" And I said, "Why, you don't expect Texas to play very well?" And I thought she was going to spit her dentures out. But
spit her dentures out.
I told that to Kirk Ferentz, and I got a snort out of him from it. So
that's good, John. Well, I appreciate you calling, sir, and get out to as many men's games as you can, and hopefully we'll talk to you tomorrow after an Iowa football win.
All right. Thanks, Cory.
Thank you, sir. All right, folks. Again, Iowa defeating Arkansas State tonight. The men 88-74, and I am looking at the schedule for the Iowa women, and they, of course, play down in Estero. I'll do more research in this because I see the question from Doug about how much is Flow Hoops. Last I checked, it was like $20 for a month, which, again, if you're an Iowa fan, you're going to buy 1 week basically worth, but it's going to be the full 20, I think. But I'll have to look into this a little bit more because, yeah, I mean, do I like that? No, I don't. And it's going to interfere somewhat with the men's games and just a lot of stuff. So anyways, appreciate everybody being here, folks. And to the question I missed earlier from T. Hink, I'm not going to the game tomorrow. And I'll be here for post-game show with Coach Patterson. Josh, what do you think of Hilton's layout and how is their students' attendance? I haven't been to a Hilton game in a couple of years. And I know they've had their ups and downs, especially during non-conference play. But in general, I think it blows Iowa out of the water. Just my experience at Hilton. Lemansky says, I was at Hilton. My Cyclone friends late in the game pointed out to our neighbors, this yo-yo is a Hawkeye. We are not going to give him a ride home. Lemansky showing up at Hilton. So it's a great venue. It really is. It's a great experience. If you can ever make it to an Iowa game, I've been to Iowa State, Iowa, been to Iowa State, Kansas, went to an Iowa State Baylor game a couple of years ago. And frankly, I like Jack Trice. Now, Jack Trice is nothing compared to Kinnick, in my opinion, but Hilton blows Carver away in a big way, I think. All right, folks, thank you, Lemansky, for that super chat. We will be back tomorrow. Iowa, Illinois, the game that could wrap up the West, and a trip to Indy for Iowa football, in spite of the fact that they've lost Cade McNamara, Luke Lachey, Eric All, and now Cooper DeJean due to injury. These guys are still fighting. They're sitting at 8-2 with a chance to wrap up the division tomorrow. Join me for post-game coverage following the game, which starts at 2:30 p.m. Central Time on FS1, the Hawks and the Illini. We'll talk to you then. Have a great night, folks. And again, if you want to donate to the show, click the links in the description below. Also, sponsorship information is at the bottom of the screen. This show and all of our long-form content is available via podcast from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Have a great night.